Hi, E.T. here. And this, well, is George Washington, known to many school children as the boy who confessed to his father he chopped down his dad's cherry tree. Well, it's all made-up fiction by the author Parson Weems. But the fact is, Washington is not only the first U.S. president, but also the first to be charged with being, well, naughty. Though this was long before he was president. And this story was not made public until 1877. And that was when a letter from a very young George Washington that was written in the 1770s was discovered. Although I have to add here, the authenticity is questionable. Whatever. The letter was from young George to a very married and flirtatious neighbor named Sally Fairfax. And it was written as George himself was courting his soon-to-be wife, Martha D. Custis. The letter is quite revealing of George's amorous feelings, but no evidence exists of any physical romps. Our third president, Thomas Jefferson, however, is now documented as fathering children with one Sally Hemings, a slave and half-sister to Jefferson's dead wife. Then there's Honest Abe Lincoln. He's alleged by his law partner, William Herndon, that Lincoln, contracted a venereal disease that, as Lincoln put it, hung to him. The essayist Gore Vidal writes these words, and I'm quoting Vidal. Herndon suspected that Lincoln might have given Mary Todd syphilis, and if he had, that would have explained the premature deaths of 3 of the Lincoln children. Unquote. Lincoln is also alleged to have been gay. Now that's an unfounded accusation based primarily on the fact that Lincoln often slept in the same bed with males, which almost all men traveling did in rural places like where Lincoln did his law practice in Illinois. Only the log cabin Republicans, comprised of right-leaning conservative gays, believe that story. Then there's Grover Cleveland, the only president to be elected in non-consecutive terms, although the 2024 elections may result in number 2. Cleveland was accused by Republicans of fathering a child out of wedlock, which Cleveland did not deny. And Republican newspapers had fun with it. They would run ditties that went like this. Ma, where's my pa? Well, after Cleveland won, the Democratic newspapers retorted with this. Gone to the White House. Ha, ha, ha. The very popular Warren Harding, elected in 1920, is documented as having engaged in many affairs, before and after his marriage to Florence Kling. One of the more notorious couplings was with Mrs. Carrie Phillips, wife of a well-off department store owner in Marion, Ohio. The historian, Carl F. Anthony, relates the story told to him by one Inez McWhorter, who was Harding's cook. And the story goes like this. One morning, McWhorter sees Mrs. Phillips at a market. They chat, and they talk about Mrs. Phillips' bright-colored shoes. Later in the day, McWhorter, and keep in mind Mrs. Harding is out of town. Later in the day, McWhorter was about to enter the Harding kitchen from the back entrance, but she immediately retreated after she saw Harding with his trousers down around his ankles and Carrie Phillips lying on the kitchen table, those red shoes dangling from her toes. Now later, as a U.S. Senator from Ohio, Harding fathered a child with Nan Britton. And I might add here, Britton had been stalking Harding from back in the days when he was editor of the local newspaper, and she was in her early teens. Well, whatever. When she was grown up, Harding did father a child with Nan. But even though Nan wrote a book about it after Harding died in 1923, the Harding kin vehemently denied that story. But DNA testing in 2015 confirmed that Nan's daughter, Elizabeth Blessing, was in fact Warren Harding's daughter. And that's it. Look for more regarding this subject in part 2 of Love and Presidents. Give this video a like, comment below, and do subscribe to this channel. This is CET. Thank you.